Treasures of Terror Volume 2 is, of course, the second volume in the Treasures of Terror horror anthology series. This was released in 2024. It's directed by Erik Lundmark, written by Maria Collins, and we have a cast including Vera VanGuard as Seducia Darkly. And I have to say that character is really the only good thing about this. I quite liked some of the short films in the first volume. I've reviewed it separately. There were a couple of stories there that I actually genuinely really enjoyed. I had good fun with them. With this one, there wasn't one. Credit where it's due, the performances throughout are okay, and there is a variety in the kinds of stories. But the actual stories themselves, apart from one, which I think it was the second one, but I'll talk about that in a moment. There was one where I thought it had potential, it wasn't too bad, but the rest of them were utterly dire. So as I did with the first one, I will talk very briefly about the different kinds of stories so you can get an example of the kinds of horror, the kinds of narratives, but in general, I don't recommend it. Unless you really, really, really loved the first one, I'd say this is probably not worth checking out because it's a significant drop in quality, at least in my opinion, based on what I look for. If you want to check it out, give it a go. I do really like Seducia Darkly as our host of the anthology. I thought she's great. I thought she was really great. But the actual substance of the anthology, not very good. So I won't go into too much detail about the shorts. I won't even explain all of them in any real detail. But in general, the first two were okay. The second one in particular, I did think was actually quite good. It's about these neighbours, one of whom is digging a hole with a shovel, and there's a very mysterious neighbour hanging around, and it's got a creepy atmosphere, and I quite liked it. That's probably my favourite. I thought it worked very, very well. The rest of them, not so much. The third one, zombie-focused. We had some great makeup. They looked fun, but not a good story. The fourth one was about a man and a woman with red hair. It was boring. The red lighting was just visually ugly, and I think they tried to be creative with the voiceover narration, this poem. It just wasn't very good. Then we have one about a doll and a pin, and it was very, very boring, which is a shame because I love that kind of story. And the sixth one, evidently I'm going through these really quickly. I don't have really many thoughts. The sixth one is called Drip, I believe, and it had some really good performances, but it was a very boring story. The seventh was about a kid and a secret and confessions. And I didn't really like it as a short. This is the final short. But I did think that has the basis of a feature film. So it wasn't that interesting, but I could see it being developed into a feature-length film. I think it had the potential to be a really good story. But in general, none of these were scary, none of them were creepy. I wouldn't say they were treasures of terror by any means. I did find the one with the neighbours to be unnerving. It wasn't necessarily scary, but it had an unnerving atmosphere, and as I said, that was my favourite out of all of them. It's the only one where I can kind of say, yeah, actually, I quite liked that one. But the rest of them, not so much. There is a variety. As I said, there is a variety in the stories, so credit where it's due. The performances are also good. A lot of the camera work is fine. Some of the lighting's not very pleasant to look at, but in general, the lighting's not an issue. Needless to say, I personally did not really enjoy Treasures of Terror Volume 2. The first one was a lot better. If you didn't like the first one, I don't think you'll enjoy this, unless any of the stories maybe appeal to you more. But in general, it has a kind of similar feel to it, and I think the first one was far superior. But nevertheless, if you want to check it out, by all means, give it a go. You may well enjoy some of the stories more than I did. Everybody has different tastes. But for me, apart from the story with the neighbours, the second story with the shovel, I didn't really get any joy out of it, apart from our host, who I do love. I do absolutely love that character. Everything else, not so much. So proceed with caution. Watch it if you're curious. You might like bits of it more than I did. But in general, apart from one story and maybe the potential that the seventh story had, I didn't really think Treasures of Terror Volume 2 really had that much to offer.